Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment. Now, just proves that you can get a story and a podcast out of nowhere. Because I was in New York City this past weekend. I was with a few friends of mine, and we were. What club was that? Tao.
How?
But that was actually the restaurant portion
The
of it.
restaurant, yeah.
And so we go in there. I think a friend of mine sparked up a conversation. The fact that I do a podcast come up, and you kind of eyes got kind of big, and he was like, "I got a story for you. It would be a good one." And so you start filling me in a little bit. And sadly, by the time people hear this story, because I've got to edit it, post it up, by the time people hear this story, you will have been turned yourself in to begin a period of incarceration. Is that correct?
Correct. Today is actually my last day as a free woman.
Last day. So you got to turn yourself in tomorrow. What time?
By 2 p.m. So Alderson, West Virginia.
All and that I'm assuming you're already there now.
No, I'm still in DC just visiting my family,
Okay.
and we're gonna drive up there tomorrow.
Okay. So you're going to drive up there tomorrow.
Yep, we're
All right.
leaving at 6 a.m.
Well, first off, I want to wish you luck going in there. Have you ever been incarcerated before?
I've done like county, like like dumb stuff, like
Yeah.
got arrested in the fucking Bahamas, shit like that, like dumb shit. Like so, no, I've never done more than 3 days in jail.
Okay. So a little overnighter, over weekend type deal, but nothing about what you're fixing to experience right now.
No.
All right. So we're going to get into what kind of got us here, the situation surrounding it, because that's even kind of got a wild tail down it. You was telling me about some of the codes. So we're going to get into
Mhm.
all that. But first, let's just start back from the beginning. Where did Jamilla come up at? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in North Carolina. Initially, I was raised by my grandmothers. My parents were both in the military, so I was a military brat. Nothing too crazy about my childhood, except the fact that, like, grew up in like in the '90s, so it was like the crack era. Um,
What part of North Carolina?
Winston Salem.
Winston-Salem. I got some people up
Hmm.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
I used to go to a wrestling event they had every year at the Benton Convention Center in
Where's that?
Winston-Salem. I don't know. I just know it's in Winston-Salem. There's not, as you very well know, there's not much else in that town. So, but they have
Mm-mm.
it every year. My son was a wrestling fan when he grew up. I was, of course, a wrestling fan when I was younger, and they would have that every year right after Thanksgiving. It's a pretty big convention center. I'm assuming that's
Hmm.
where they would do concerts or something along those lines. There can't be but so many places that big in that town. It's not very big at all.
Exactly. Exactly.
So when did you move from Winston-Salem?
When I was like a kid, like 7 years old, my mom she came back from Korea, so we moved to the DC metro area. I
Okay.
graduated from high school, went to college, got my master's, and then I moved to LA when I was about 23 years old.
So what did you get your master's in?
PR, public relations.
Okay. Now what was your goal when you went to LA? What were you setting out to do?
I wanted to work with celebrities. I wanted to do like fashion PR, media, entertainment PR.
Right. I mean, that's always fun. I think
Hmm.
I get to do a scaled down version of that with this podcast. I get to talk to interesting
Absolutely.
people, people that have been, on TV, on movies, just, social media stars, things like that. It's fun to get to know people and to be able to say you had a conversation with them. So I can see the appeal of that. So you go to LA. Um,
Hmm.
how did that work out for you? What avenues did you try? Tell us a little bit about LA.
I love LA, first of all. So there, I kind of got my real estate license. I got started getting involved in real estate. I met some really great people. You know,
So did you any avenues open up for what you were trying to do, or it was just you just kind of went with real estate hoping that would pop off?
I kind of went with real estate, and then I kind of got like distracted a little bit. With that LA lifestyle, I started having a little bit of fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That can happen. I just went to LA. I think I told you the story, but I just went to LA
Hmm.
about a month ago, and I'm sure there are better places. I was just underwhelmed, at least the area that I went as far as the nightlife goes. It was
Oh
different.
yeah, I told you. You have to. I gotta take you. You
Yeah.
gotta take you. It's fun.
All right. Well, I have to trust your judgment because I was very disappointed, at least the areas that I went into.
No, it's fun.
So, how did you get back and get involved in the situation that we're talking about right now?
Love.
Love. So, was this somebody back home, or did you meet there and y'all decided to move back, or did this
Mm.
happen in LA?
This happened in LA. The case is actually was actually out of Brooklyn. My ex, my Cody, he's from New York. But I met him on the East Coast, so he's been like a longtime friend of mine.
Where'd you meet him?
Um, I met him in Miami
So
at
he's
Live.
from Brooklyn. You met him in Miami.
He's from no, he's from Queens. I met him.
Oh,
Yeah, I met
Queens.
him in
Okay.
Miami at Club Live, like back in 2000, and like years ago, probably like 11 years ago.
Okay.
So I've known him for a very long time. Um, and then I ran into him again in LA, and then we kind of just picked up where we left off.
Y'all just bumped into each other, or he got in contact with you? That's a big
It's
ass city to
all
just
star.
bump into
It was
somebody.
All Star Weekend,
Ah, okay, okay,
and I ran into him All Star Weekend in LA, and then we kind of picked up where we left off.
okay. Now, we mentioned that you going to be turning yourself in. It's a conspiracy
Hmm.
charge, drug related. Was he in the gang?
No.
No. Okay, so fill us in on how we're here. What is the story on how we're here?
Whew. Um, where do I start? You want me to start when they came to my house, or?
I mean, we'll start from the beginning. Like, I mean, what did so? I guess are you saying that he's innocent, or he didn't have anything to do with it, or you didn't know? What's the story?
Well, I do want to say that he has pled guilty. So he was sentenced to 182 months, which is about roughly 15 years.
Right.
Um, so the case is a drug conspiracy, and it involves the U.S. mail.
Okay, so they're alleging that he was using
Hmm.
U.S. mail to send and receive. I'm assuming, or distribute.
Yes, to distribute, to send and receive narcotics.
Okay, so we're under the 10-minute mark, and I know YouTube
Hmm.
monitors certain names that you say. So I'm assuming I'm just going to take a wild guess. Was this a powdery like substance? Okay. All right.
Hmm.
So
It
anybody
wasn't.
that's
It
watching
wasn't.
this ought to be able to
Yeah,
piece it together. What would you say?
very popular in LA.
Yes, very
He was
popular in
very
LA.
popular in LA.
So you're saying, or they're saying he allegedly did this. And I mean, can you confirm this? You deny it? Where are you sitting?
Well, I denied it. Like, obviously, I denied it because I didn't even know that he was involved in that.
Mhm.
Um, the entire time is so freaking crazy. I thought that he was dealing marijuana.
Okay, so you knew he was dealing drugs, but you didn't know the exact specifics of what he was doing.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I thought it was marijuana.
Isn't that
Just
legal
because,
over there though? Or was not at
yes,
this time?
it's legal in California, but on a federal level, which is why these fucking laws are dumb when you
Right.
think about it, because marijuana on a federal level is still an illicit substance.
Okay. And um so I'm assuming how does the bus go down? I'm assuming they're probably monitoring him. Oop,
Oh my God, sorry, you have to add this. Um, oh, how did the bus go down?
yes.
Oh, it's crazy. So, yeah, they were monitoring. I read my indictment. Uh, it was like a 9 month investigation.
Mhm.
So it started with a mailbox.
Okay.
It was
So
actual.
now I gotta ask before we get too deep into that. A 9-month investigation. This is going on. I'm assuming he's using this probably as his primary means of distribution. You again, I want to preface this. You kind of have an idea what's going on. You just don't know what exactly is being sent in these packages. Or did you not want to know? That's a difference.
You sound like that. Honestly, was the entire reason why my attorney told me don't take it to trial, just because it was like a 9 month investigation,
Yeah.
and I was seen on camera repeatedly, like maybe a few times, taking packages to the post office.
Ah,
So he was just like, it's no way I can take this shit to trial.
yeah, that would be difficult. Um,
Mm.
especially if they can prove that every time, you know, it was what it was. Was he selling to people that were undercover or people like I've known people that were selling, literally people would sell stuff on the dark web and cops would set up accounts and buy stuff from people. How did they know he was doing it?
A post office mailbox. Again, it was the postal master that came to my house. It was a postal master and like the Homeland Security that came
Right.
to my door. Um, Apparently, it all started because it was a mailbox. Someone had opened up a mailbox that he was using, and they used a fake ID to open the mailbox.
Uh,
So I guess like when they were doing an audit of the mailboxes or doing an audit or whatever the case may be, they found out that the ID that was used to open up the mailbox did not belong to like a valid New York address.
okay.
So this prompted like an entire investigation.
But that was
And
him. He was just using a fake ID.
I don't even think it was him. I think that he had someone open the mailbox because he doesn't.
Oh, okay. I got you. Somebody else outside of his name opened up the mailbox. He
Yeah,
was
like I
just
don't even think it
using
was
it.
him. I just think he was just using the mailbox.
I got you. All right. So he got
Hmm.
somebody else to open it, unaffiliated with the situation. He's using it to do his deeds. And once they figure out that the actual person that opened this mailbox isn't a valid driver's license, that prompted suspicion into maybe what this was being used for.
Like what were in these packages. So
Right.
again, and all this is public information. This is like coming directly from my indictment. Um, they seized the package.
Okay.
So apparently, I guess with the feds, so when they seize one package and it's it goes based off of weight.
Right.
So they seized one package and the contents of that package is what they assumed every other package was after this investigation because he was
Whether it
required to
was that
provide.
amount or not, they're just going to put that on.
Yes, they're just going to put that on you and then against the entire indictment. And that's what I was asking my attorney. I'm just like, how can they allege that, that every single package, because they're saying that it was 70 keys sent throughout the entire indictment, right?
Damn.
So it's just like, how can you guys allege that based off, he said based off the weight. So what they do is they keep, he was using USPS. So what they did is they keep the weights, like
Right.
every every package that was sent. It was so many receipts. I don't know how they had this information, but when we were looking over my discovery, they had so many receipts, like with tracking, and every single package weighed the same amount. So they look back on that and they're like, since every single package that was sent that this weighed this amount, they assume that every package contained the same thing based off of that one package they seized.
Well, now, if you guys shipped it or he or whoever, and you said
Hmm.
you did it a few times too, if it was the same amount every time and they go based off weight, at least my experience of mailing non stuff like you're talking about, um, you're going to pay by weight. So if it's the same thing every time, then every receipt you had should have been the same amount. If they weren't, then that would have been a good enough reason to say, hey, you can't really put the same number on everything because I mean, if you'd have, 100 receipts for $25 a piece, I'm just using that number as an example, then I could see them being able to do that. But if they're all different amounts of payment, then that would mean there were different weights, or were they all the same amount
According to them, it was all the same amount.
according to
And
them?
based off of, according to them, it was the same amount, which is how they were able to estimate the amount. Even though, keep in mind, they didn't find anything on me. They didn't even have a warrant to search my house.
Right, because that wouldn't have been able to be given to them by Homeland Security and the post office. They wouldn't have the authority to come in and do that. When they come to you, what did they ask you?
They knocked on my door. This is when I was living in LA. They knocked on my door. And let me just preface, I thought it was unusual that my boyfriend hadn't called me that morning. Mind you, like when he was on the East Coast, he'd call me. We have a routine. Like, you've been dating for someone for so long, you have a routine. Like he would call me like my time. Like he'll call me like at by 8 a.m. West Coast time because I had to be I was working from home.
Right.
So I would be like logged in to work by 9. So we had a schedule. He'll call me at 8 a.m.
Right.
He didn't call me at all. So I called him. I'm like, okay, maybe he's at the gym. I didn't see nothing of it. I hear a knock at the door. I'm like about to get in the shower to get ready to log on for work. Hear a knock at the door. And it's like an Asian guy, like a weird fucking looking Asian guy. I'm like, oh hi, like what's going on? And he's like, yeah, I think I hit your car in the parking lot. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You hit my car in the parking lot. And he's like, you drive a white Mercedes, right? And I'm like, what? Like, how do you even know what? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't making sense. So I tried to close the door
Yeah.
in his face. And he's like, you're Jamilla, right? And I'm like, yes. And then that's when they pushed in and they were like, you're under. I'm like, what? What do you mean? And it was him. And then it was the postal inspector. Can I say her name?
Yeah.
Her name was Kimberly Holly. I just remember her name because she was like a black lady, like an older black lady. And she was trying to get at me like off this sister girl shit. And she was pissing me off so fucking bad because they kept trying to get me like, she was like, oh, we already arrested your boyfriend and his other girlfriend earlier today in New York. So it's no need to call anyone. And I'm like, excuse me?
Whew. All right. So she's trying to get you fired up, evidently.
Yes. And she told me, she's like, I'm like, I'm confused. I'm like, what the hell is going on
Right.
at this point? Like, I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
So let me unpack a few things here with that. Your boyfriend is back living in the East Coast. Was this a long distance relationship you guys had, or would he just go back from time to time?
He's bi-coastal. So we had a place together in LA, and then he lived with his child's mother, who was the other codefendant in New York.
Okay. So bi-coastal. I don't think I've ever heard that term before.
You ever heard bi-coastal? We go from coast to coast?
I just went to the West Coast. I'm 40 years old, so no, I've never heard the term bi-coastal. So when he was with that's a little strange in and of itself. I gotta admit, when he's not with you in LA, when he's not living with you, he's staying with his baby's mom on the East Coast,
Yes.
and you're okay with that.
I wasn't really aware of it. I mean,
Okay, that's what I'm
I knew he
trying
had
to
a
get into.
child's
You weren't
mother,
aware.
but I knew he had a child's mother, but he also had another apartment out there that I would come to when I would go out there. I never, because I would visit him,
Okay.
and we would stay at the other apartment he had.
Right. So did you know that him and the baby's mom were like, did you think they were on good terms or no speaking terms, or what did you think they were at?
I knew they were speaking, but I didn't know that, like, they were still like a thing, apparently.
Okay. Did it really matter to you?
Not really,
You
because
just strike me as a woman that's doing her own thing in LA. So it like you're not going to be hung up what he may or may not be doing. That's just an
yeah,
educated guess.
it didn't really matter because he was doing what he was supposed to take care of me.
Right. Okay. I got
So
you.
like I didn't have to worry about anything. My bills were paid. Like
There's
so it's just like, you know.
okay. All right. So I'm assuming that the woman he's talking about is the baby's mama. The woman that she was talking about, excuse me, is the
Yes,
baby mom.
the baby mother. Yes.
Okay, so did they place you under arrest that day?
Yep. It was so embarrassing.
Who arrested you? Homeland Security?
Yeah, they had a body warrant for me.
Okay. I mean, Homeland Security, I'm assuming, could do it. I've never heard of a postal worker having that
No, she was the
authority.
postal inspector. Like she's the
Okay.
postal inspector. Like
Even them, I
so
don't think they have the duty to
no,
or
she
the
doesn't
ability
have
to
it.
arrest.
She's the one that got the warrant.
Okay.
Because I Googled what postal inspectors do after, and apparently postal inspectors are responsible for basically finding people who commit crimes through the mail. That's their
Right.
entire job. So she's the one who was able to go before the judge and get a warrant for all of us
Okay.
based off of her investigation and based off of her evidence.
So, and are you living in a house or an apartment building this time, or where you at?
It was an apartment. So I'm just like, I'm trying to run upstairs. Like I have a dog. Like before, like my job. I'm like, can I get dressed at least? Like what the fuck?
Right.
Um,
Did they let you get dressed? Sometimes they don't do that.
yeah, they it was two women. So
Okay.
the guy stepped out and they let me get dressed. So I had a fucking towel on.
Right.
So they did let me get dressed. Um, they did allow me to call someone and let them know what was going on.
Okay.
Um,
And you're getting taken out early morning here. I'm assuming, like you said, embarrassing as hell. Everybody's seeing you. Don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. It's probably
so freaking embarrassing.
yeah.
So embarrassing. Embarrassing as hell. And then not only that, it's just like they asked to search my house. I'm like, no, you're not gonna search my house. Like for what? They didn't have a search warrant for my property. They only had a body warrant. Then
Right.
he's like holding my cell phone up to my face, and I always tell people like, whenever you do not have your cell phone on fucking the face thing,
Yeah.
because if you get arrested, they can hold it up to your face as consent
Yeah.
to go through your fucking phone. Um. So yeah,
Okay. So did they wind up getting a warrant to search your house?
no. Which is why I didn't think it was such a big deal. Like I didn't think they really wanted me.
Right. They just okay. All right. So did you lawyer up?
Yes. So initially, I didn't think I needed like a lawyer. Like they assigned me like they gave me like they took me down to like the MDC area, like the LA
Mm-hmm.
jail. Um, I got bail. I was able to get bail the same day. My mom had to put her property up. It was a property bail.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like a
the
PR
judge,
bond type thing.
yeah. So mom had to
Yeah.
put like, which is why I could never like go on the run or anything like that because my mom was
Right.
about to lose her
Her
house.
house would be, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I'm just like, of course, that's crossed my mind. All I could think about was my poor fucking mom. Like, bro,
Yeah. You
like,
can't do that to
damn.
moms. You can't do that to
I'm like,
moms.
I'm right in LA. Of course, I want to drive my ass off to Mexico and get lost. Of course, I want to go across that damn border. Um,
Hypothetically, if it wasn't mom's property put up, would you have, I mean, did you have the means to do that and stay over there? That's always a problem. Like people say, all right, I'm gonna run. Then when you run, you realize you need money
you need
to stay
support.
gone and support. Yes, 100%. And it's very hard.
Yeah, and I had to surrender my passport. All I had was a little passport. I had found my passport card. I still,
Hmm.
because part of my pretrial, I had to surrender my passport. I had to do drug testing. So the judge was real cool. He was like, I would much rather you fight this thing from the outside than from in here.
Oh, well, that's good. It's a lot easier to do it that way.
That's what he was saying. Because again, me and her got bail. He
Right.
did not get bail. He's been in MDC Brooklyn. He was at MDC Brooklyn the entire duration of the case.
Okay. So how quickly did you make bail or bond?
Well, the same day, my mom,
Okay, so you done it the
my
same day.
friends,
That's
my friends had called my mom. Like I was crying. My mom was just like, "What do I need to do?" They were like, "Does she have a property?" I was
okay.
like, "I have my house." Luckily, her house was worth something,
Hmm.
so she
So
was able to put her
that's good
property.
you were able to get out the same day. A lot of times you at least got to stay in there overnight, depending on how fast they
Mm-hmm.
process it. But the saving grace is they probably got you early in the morning, so you were able to kind of get everything
No, they were
processed.
there at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
They were right. They were there and ready at my fucking door at 8 a.m. So
So
I didn't go out till like
they had
probably
that
5
plan.
p.m. Mm-hmm.
They had that plan. What's next? You get out. I mean, do they tell you what they're charging you with at that point?
Yeah, the judge read the charges to me.
And what did they say?
He said, count. It was two counts initially.
Hmm.
Conspiracy of 10 kgs or more,
Hmm.
which was like a BC1 or something.
Right.
And then the second count was possession or something, but they ended up dropping it because it was stupid.
Yeah, I was about to say possession is kind of hard to prove if they didn't find
It
it
was
in
hard
your
to prove
possession.
exactly. So they ended up dropping that when I pled guilty. I only pled guilty to one count of conspiracy.
And that's quite common that they put a lot of extra stuff on there, and then most of the time they wind up dropping all but one or two. You hear that a lot when people say, "All right, they got 26 count indictment, but yet they only actually wind
Hmm.
up pleading guilty to one or two of them." It's really just to beef the case up and make it look worse than it really is.
Oh,
And I'm not
Right.
saying, that only applies to you. That's
Yeah.
a lot of cases. I mean, I've just had a guy on not too long ago that was, I want to say, a 38-page indictment, and he only pled guilty to one of them. And
Wow.
obviously, the one is the worst one,
The
so they're going to
conspiracy.
get you for the
Yeah.
duration. And most of the time will run at the same time. So even if they find you guilty for all of them, if all of them are 10 years and they're running concurrent, you're still only going to do 10 years. It doesn't really matter. I mean, some of them, they'll put it where you got to do it back to back to back, which is a dick move. But so
Mm.
you get your indictment. You know what they're indicting you for. You do get out. Your fella is still in jail. He's in Brooklyn now, in jail.
NBC Brooklyn. Yeah.
He's in MDC Brooklyn in jail. Do you communicate with the baby's mom at all?
No, I don't even know her.
You never. Okay. So
We've never met, which is how I'm asking my attorney at this point. I'm like, how is it conspiracy if I don't know her?
So let me ask you a question. When you mail these packages, were they going to him from LA? Okay. So you weren't just mailing them to people randomly. You were mailing them to him.
Yes, I was always, yeah.
All right. So that's a little bit more of why they could probably put it to conspiracy. And if she was in the same house with him, that's why. If you were just mailing these out to random people, buyers, for instance, whatever, I could say that you would have a little bit more deniability. You'd be like, I don't even know this person. I just mailed him something. But the fact that you're mailing it to him, I guess that's how they were kind of able to put that on you.
Well, got it, got it. Well, they're saying because she worked at the post office.
Oh, the baby mama?
Yeah, she was a supervisor at the post office. So they're
Damn, this
saying
thing just
that.
keeps getting deeper. Okay.
So they're saying that that is why. So basically, like the lady when she came, the postal inspector, she's like, so he had you mailing the packages, and he had her picking them up all the time, all while keeping his hands clean. I was like, okay.
I mean, other than the fact that it ended badly, sounds pretty smart. I mean, he did keep himself insulated. I'm sorry that kind of blew back on you. But he had somebody he didn't know open up the box. He had you mailing them and her picking them up because she was a supervisor. I'm assuming they probably picked her up at work too, I'm guessing.
No, they apparently they arrested them both that same morning at 5 a.m.
Ah, okay.
They
So early
came
morning route.
early. They came early for them, I guess, so he couldn't call me and let me know what was going on.
So obviously your first choice or first mode of thinking is you got to be, sitting down with your lawyer asking, what are you going to do? What's the plans? What's the charges? What are you facing? And what year is this? When did this happen?
So this happened in 2022. I've been out on bail for 2 years. This
Okay.
thing has taken 2 years of my life. And now it's finally time for me to face the music.
Well, I shared with you, my story, and it took 5 years
Right.
to kind of come to fruition. So the wheels of justice do not turn fast for anybody. I can
Mm,
say that it's crazy because it's almost like a mental prison because you're
yeah.
out, you're able to enjoy your life, do your thing, and have the freedom. But in the back of your mind, at some point something's going to come to a point to where,
So come to an end.
yeah, it's going to come to an end.
And you don't know what to expect. Like,
Right,
you don't know if it's going to be the worst because it's a
right,
guideline, it's a range. So you don't know if it's going to, it's people don't understand it's literally up to the judge with the
yes,
federal shit.
yeah,
You can get a
100%.
dickhead judge or you can get an easygoing judge.
Right. The guy that you spoke with in the club, his name was Gene.
Hmm.
He had a very good judge that was very lenient on him in one of his past cases. Had it been another judge, they could have probably given him, God knows, I don't know how many years. He was a repeat offender. He had violated his parole. I mean, they could have really put him under the jail for a long time. He was a former member of the mob, like he was a connected guy in the mob. I don't know if he told you all that or
Oh,
shared you that with him, but that was his background. Um,
no, he didn't tell it. He left it in front of me.
yeah, he's been on the show before. I've got shows with him on there for he's been all over podcasts the last few months. So it's not like I'm giving out any kind of secret information. He's very open
No,
with it,
no, of course,
who
yeah.
he used to be. But that's how he had the background of, the prisons where you would go, arrested in New York, things like that. That's kind of how he had the know how to.
And see, he was right because initially they didn't give me a location.
Right.
So initially, like I had to email BOP. I was calling my after I got sentenced. Um, oh, so this is like probably too much information. I don't know. I got an extension because I was getting. I told my attorney that I had some personal stuff going on that I had to take care of. So after I got sentenced, because the judge she did like a 4 week turnaround
Right.
for self surrender, and I was just like like fucking freaking out because again anybody with shit going on, 4 weeks is not enough. She gave me a 4 week turnaround time, which I'm just like, first of all, I didn't even think I was gonna get time. Like, I'm talking to my Cody through his friends and through him, whenever possible, and he's telling me, "Oh, you have nothing to worry about. You're gonna get probation. You're gonna get probation. My man said this. My man said that. You're gonna get probation." So even my attorney, who mind you, who was paid, well, he's a great attorney. His name is Jason Goldman. Paid a lot of money for this guy. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna request probation. You should be fine. I'm gonna write a letter." Wrote a letter to the judge. It looked amazing. I had over 30 character letters.
That's good.
I was not prepared to get jail time at all.
Yeah. I had to go through and get a lot of character letters in my case as well. And that speaks volumes, believe it or not, when people will write those letters on
Yeah.
your behalf. So that's good. And I think I had like 3 days to get all my character letters together, because it just so happens
Wow.
when I had to turn myself in, I don't know how it works in LA, but like the circuit court rotates county to county. So they'll be in one county for a week, and then they'll be in another one and another one and another one, and then just
Mhm.
constantly keep doing that. Just so happened the week I turned myself in, they were in my county. So we kind of had to
Oh
push and go ahead
wow.
and get me in
Yeah.
front of to try to get bond. Otherwise, I'd have had to sit a fucking month or however long it would have took, 2 months, 3 months, or whatever, for them to roll back around. Um, so it was kind of in a rush, but we kind of had to strike while we had the opportunity.
Yeah.
And so do you mind if I ask how much that lawyer charged you?
It was like 25, which is
Okay.
on the cheaper side for a federal case, but it was
Yeah.
a lot for me
Right.
because it's just like at this point, like, my boyfriend was taking care of me, he's in jail. So I'm paying all my own bills now. I'm still trying to maintain in LA. I have to pay for a lawyer. I'm like completely depleting my resources.
Right. So at what point did you find out you were going to have to do time? And was that something that the lawyer, came to you? It was like, you need to cut a deal. It's not worth going to trial. What was that conversation like?
So he told me basically, because I'm just thinking, he's like, he's like, your guy pled guilty. And I'm like, okay. But I was like, I don't want to plead guilty. I'm like, I want to take the trial because I don't know how they can prove that I knew what was being sent in those packages. I was like, they can't prove that I knew I was sending a narcotic. Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, I thought I was sending marijuana.
Right.
He's like, yeah, but he's like, unfortunately, ignorance of the law is not really a good, he said it's not a good defense.
Yeah.
He said because of the fact that he was like, the way he was explaining it to me, he was like, of course, he's like, people do things all the time for their partner. Like, he's like, my wife asked me to take something to the mailbox. He's like, of course, I don't ask for what's in it. He's like, but you repeatedly did it. He's like, you did it. He's like, they have you on video doing it a few times.
Okay. So
He,
I got a
so,
question I want to ask. And if
mm-hmm,
you don't want to
mm-hmm,
answer this, you don't have to. How
mm-hmm.
would you get the packages to send to him?
He would give them to me and he'd say, hey, can you drop this off at the mailbox? Take this to the post office.
Okay. So, well, I thought you were actually mailing some of them to him, though.
Oh, yeah. He would be in town
Okay.
because we were dating.
So he would
Like, this was just
specifically tell you, "Hey, mail this to me when I get back home."
he would take me and like just send it. He like send it to he would just like drop this off at the post office.
Okay. And it would just be there when he got back there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. I got what you're saying. Okay. Because I was going to say, they're probably going to ask, if I was kind of confused on the timeline that he was actually with you when this is going on. I would say that probably the question they would ask, if you said you didn't know what was in it, it'd be like, where are you getting it? Yada, yada, yada. So that's even kind of more in your favor, that he's prepping all this. He's doing all this. You're just the one
Mailing it. Like I
mailing.
literally all I was doing, my partner asked me to do him a favor. He drives me to the post office. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure.
So now
I have.
looking back here, what I would have what I would have liked if I was you
Mhm.
was if he pled guilty, it should have been able to let y'all two walk.
Didn't work like that.
Did he even try that, or do you don't know?
He pled guilty, and he said that like when he spoke to the judge, he told them that we didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, that ain't enough though. You got to work that into the deal.
Oh.
Yeah, like you can't just say I'm guilty, but they didn't know. You got to be like, I'll plead guilty. I'll say I did this, this, and this, but these don't get charged, or they get the minimal charge and no jail time, something along those lines. You can't
Yeah.
ask for the favor after you agree to and say you're guilty. It doesn't work. I mean, you can, but they're probably not going to fucking give it to you.
Right.
So because I just matter of fact, the podcast that I was up there doing, I did with a lady named Andrea Giovino.
Mhm.
She was arrested for drugs conspiracy. They caught her on the phone moving drugs. They didn't want her specifically. They wanted her husband, who was the ringleader. So they
Mhm.
arrested her. She was facing 10 years. She was going to lose her children. They were going to go in the foster system. And her husband, who was a known drug trafficker, took the rap, pled guilty in order for her to not get charged. So that's what I'm saying is he could have worked something out, or at least tried to try to make it where y'all two walked away from it, or at least got as little, you know,
Time as
backlash as possible.
possible.
Now, and I'm not saying he didn't try to do it. I don't know. I'm just saying that could have been something that could have been possibly been worked out, but evidently not, or we wouldn't be here talking about it.
Right.
So he's pleading guilty. Your lawyer says it's just a good idea to kind of take a plea yourself.
Yeah, he's like, because I was facing so much time, he was
Yeah.
like, if you're only facing like 5 years or something, he was like, then yeah, by all means, I say let's take it to trial and like let's play on the jury's sympathy.
Right.
You didn't know. He was
Worst
like, but
case
it's just
scenario, you do 5 years, not
five
the end of
years.
the world.
It's not the end of the world. He was like, but 10 years. He's like, you're facing 10 years. He was like, if they want, he's like, if you get found guilty in a court, he was like, you're guaranteed 10 years. He's like, that's not a gamble you should be willing to take.
It's a crazy thing to think about because I think everybody, wants to have that philosophy, take it to trial. But and that's why the court system has these high conviction rates because of what
Mm-hmm.
we just discussed. And I think we talked about this. They're going to dangle, if you're facing a 10-year sentence and they dangle 3 to 5 in front of you, if you just plea, most people aren't going to take that gamble because that's 10 years of your life you're going to lose
Mm-hmm.
if you go,
Mm-hmm.
because it's almost like if you go and they find you guilty, it's like you're insulting their intelligence that you went that far. So they're going to give you the max in most cases. And you've lost, where if you just take the plea, you go in, a couple of summers, couple of winters, you come home. And obviously nobody wants to do that time, but 3 is a hell of a lot better than 10, especially in the prime years of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like,
And so when these district attorneys and all that, you hear this, oh, we got a 99% conviction rate. No, you don't. A lot of that's plea deals. It's not like you're going to court and fucking fighting it. Like a lot of it is plea deals, and they're cut for people that, are facing high sentences. A lot of people that are poor and don't have money to even get a paid attorney and have to get a public defender. Forget about it. That's even worse. Uh,
yeah.
if you'd had a public defender, you'd have been screwed. That'd have been nothing. You'd have probably got 7. You know, that's my guess, at least 7.
Yeah.
The paid lawyer, I tell everybody, is all the difference in the world, man. If you have the ability to get a paid lawyer, it's money well spent as long as he's, good in his profession. And it sounds like yours was giving you pretty sound advice. Did he work the deal is he dealing with Brooklyn, even though he's in LA, or who's he
No, no,
dealing?
he's at Brooklyn. His name is
Oh, he's
Jason
at, okay. All
Goldman.
right. All right. All right.
His office is located in Brooklyn, and he's actually a really good lawyer. I know he did the best he could. Um, so basically he worked the deal out for me. He was able to get me to do so. I talked to my co-defendant prior to accepting the deal because I had to do safety valves.
Right.
So in my safety valve statement, again, he was able to walk me through it, my attorney,
Mhm.
and my attorney just basically explained, what to say, and I told them like I didn't know what I was sending.
Right.
Like the entire time, I'm like I thought I was sending marijuana. That wasn't enough to get me off, but that was enough to satisfy the government with what they wanted to hear, because sending marijuana is still a crime.
Right.
And it still, it satisfied what they wanted. And it did lower my, some new law had passed too, because initially my guidelines were really high.
Right.
Initially my guidelines were like starting off at 80 months or something.
Right.
And they passed a new law within the last 2 years for, I guess, first time offenders or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it lowered my guidelines to 70.
That's good. That's almost a year shaving off. Did your
Mm-hmm.
co-defendant take a similar deal
She passed.
before she ever had to make a deal? She passed.
She she got sentenced. She didn't get sentenced. She kept pushing her sentencing date off.
Right.
So I got sentenced. I know she pled guilty, so she was going to get sentenced.
Okay. So she took a deal as well, though.
She took a deal. We all pled.
Okay.
He pled guilty first. Then I found out she pled guilty. Then I was just like,
Kind of
I
hard
don't
to
have a
find.
leg to stand. I don't have a
Yeah.
leg to stand on at this point. Like,
How did she pass?
she was sick. Apparently, she had sickle cell.
Hmm.
Like it's just that's what I'm saying. This case is just the craziest shit ever, and it sounds unbelievable. It's true. So I got sentenced February 27th. She was supposed to get sentenced this month, from my understanding, but she passed like 2 weeks ago. So that's why when I say the case is concluded, it's concluded.
Right. So he pled guilty. He's doing it. How long did he get? 15, you said?
15 years. He's in Otisville.
Otisville. That's in Connecticut, right?
New York.
Or New York.
He's in Otisville, like FC.
I'm thinking of Danbury. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's in a medium facility.
Okay. I think Otisville, where I heard that name, I think that's where George. You ever seen the movie Blow?
I love that movie, Georgia. Oh
I
my
think
God,
at the end of the movie, that's where they sent him at Otisville. When he got the 60 years at the end of it, I
I
think that's
think
where
you're
they sent
right.
him was Otisville.
Is it ironic? That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. Not according to the charges. It's not.
I mean, oh my God.
but it is a very good film. Johnny Depp played that well, and Boston George actually passed about 2 years ago. I reached out to. He was released.
I
I
saw that. I was
reached
so
out to him.
sad because I love him.
I talked with him. I reached out to him on Instagram. He gave me his phone number. We
Oh,
spoke,
that's
and he
dope.
said, Yeah, it was like a 5-minute conversation. I just told him, I'm like, man, I'm just starting a podcast. Your movie's amazing. Your story's amazing. I'd love to have you on. And obviously,
Right.
he's trying to make money. He's like, well, I'm gonna charge X amount. I'm like, I don't care. Like just to have you on the interview is fucking. I'm fine with it. And so
Mm-hmm.
he said, I'm not feeling very well. He said, give me a couple of weeks and circle back to me. And I got busy, and it was about a month goes by, and then I got the news that he passed away. So I hate that I wasn't able
No,
to get to speak with him in an interview, setting. But rest in peace to George Young. And that was a great movie. One of my favorites, personal favorites.
yeah. Mine too, definitely.
So she passes. He's in the
Yeah.
middle of his 15. You got sentenced in February, and I think you told me, but I'm not 100%. You got what do you call, like a stay, a surrender, or what's the terminology for that where you get it pushed off?
So I got an extension. I got another four. So when she sentenced me, she said you have a short surrender date. My original surrender date was March the 27th.
Okay.
I'm freaking out at this point. I'm like, this is not going to work. Like, because first of all, I didn't think I was going to jail. So I'm just thinking about my credit card bills. I'm thinking about my car, which is a lease. About life shit that adults have to deal with who aren't going to jail. You have to tie your affairs in order.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, it's just so much. So I was able, and then plus I had a personal thing that I was dealing with. So I had to get an extension for that.
Right.
Which he was able to grant. The judge was able to grant, thank God. So my new surrender date began April 23rd. But meanwhile, I don't even know where I'm going. So on top of that, because my attorney, he requested a facility on the East Coast,
right,
so that my family
could visit
my family. But it's like at this point, like it's getting close. I just found out I had got the extension probably maybe about like 4 days before I was supposed to turn myself in. I found out that the extension was granted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I still didn't know where I was supposed to go. They were just telling me that if you don't know where you got to go, I kept calling. I called the U.S. Marshals. I kept calling my preacher office, and they were so rude. They're like, if you don't know where you're going, you're just gonna have to drop yourself off to the U.S. Marshals, surrender to the U.S. Marshals, and you'll get transported. And I did not want to do that because I know that like I kept hearing horror stories about people that had to like self-surrender to the marshal. They take them to the how you're from and saying they'll take you to NBC, and you will literally have to sit at like a local jail until you can get transferred
Yeah.
out, and you don't know how long that's going to be. Like that could take weeks, that could take months. So I emailed DOP. I'm like, hey, I have the funds to like, I was like, I was like, where am I being sent to? I was like, I have the means to take myself, so you don't have to use government money to transport
Yeah.
me. Like
Plus
I
you
was on
plus
my
you get a last little bit of, time with your family in a car ride at least,
exactly. Yeah. I'm like, my family already rented a Sprinter. Like when they were planning on driving me up, like they hadn't told me anything. I literally found out where I was supposed to go, probably 3 weeks ago. They pre-trial reached out to me and said, you've been sent, you're going to be seeking self-surrender to Alderson. Be there by 2 p.m. West Virginia. I said, okay. Because I did not want to go that U.S. Marshal route at all. So I had been praying for that. Like, please, son.
And how long is your sentence that you agreed to?
42 months.
42 months.
Mm-hmm.
Have you come to terms with you're going to have to go do that? I mean, mentally, that's a lot for somebody that's never been to prison or never been. I mean, obviously, like you said, a lot of people's gotten locked up overnighters, DUIs. That's not a big deal. No,
Right.
you're going to have to do 42 months in prison. That's not an easy thing to come to terms with. How have you done that? And how are you right now mentally knowing that you're going to have to be turning yourself in tomorrow after this time tomorrow,
I'm going
everything
to
will
be
be.
in jail.
Yeah.
My life is going to be completely different.
Yes.
Um, I've been crying. I'm not going to hold you. I have been fucking crying. Yeah, I've been crying. I've been very emotional. Everyone's like, it's just a camp. You'll be fine. It's just a camp. If Martha Stewart can do it, you can do it. Because it's the same place Martha Stewart went to.
Right.
But she got 6 months.
Yeah.
I got fucking 42 months. Like,
and plus, I mean, you heard them talk about it. The more, high profile you are, the more favors you're going to get. I got to believe Martha wasn't doing hard time in there, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. It's Martha Stewart. Come on now.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard, I mean, if it's any consolation, I've interviewed a lot of guys that were in camps. It's obviously a lot better than,
Mm-hmm.
other alternatives. So in a way you do have to take that as a blessing, even though you're
Right.
putting that in the same context of a sentence is kind of crazy. It's a blessing to go to a camp, but it is a blessing to go to a camp over a big prison. That is, you do have to appreciate that, even though it's still not a place you want to go. You
So,
mentioned about a book
mm-hmm.
that you're thinking about doing. I think
Mm-hmm.
if you do that and you use that time in there to kind of put that in motion, that'll be very good for you mentally to
Mm-hmm.
escape the fact that you are in there. Is that still something that you're thinking about doing?
Yes. Um, Definitely is, just because I like to write. I
Mhm.
like to read. I like to write. So I like the fact that you said it's a way to escape, and
Yes.
I'm gonna need to escape. Like I mean, 42 months, 3.5 years is a long time without being, with the outside world.
Yeah.
Um, I pretty much lost everything. Um, I'm thankful I still have my family. I still have the support of the few friends I still do have,
Mhm.
but I've lost money. I've lost my partner, who I thought was supposed to be my life partner. I'm not even. I've lost everything I've worked hard for
Where
at
are
this
you
point. Like
where are you sitting with him right now?
I talked to him today.
I mean, I mean, is it just somebody that you're going to love regardless, or are you a little
Yeah,
upset with him for putting you in this situation? How do you feel?
of course I'm upset with him, but um, no, I'm definitely upset with him. But like, I don't believe in kicking people when they're down. Everyone's like, why would you still communicate with him? Why would you even care about him. You gotta worry about yourself. You have to focus on you, and that's true. But at the same time, like I don't believe in the way my loyalty is set up and the way my heart is set up. Like someone that's made sure I was straight for so many years, regardless of anything else. This person was there for me when my father passed. We have a lot of history, so I don't
Can't throw
believe
that
in.
away.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for me, and today he was just like, I don't know, this might be the last time I talk to you for like a really long time. Um, so he just wanted to call and just tell me that he loves me still, and like I said, it's hard to throw certain things away, and it's hard. A lot of people don't understand it. I've been getting a lot of people judge me for it. Um,
Well, the one thing I'll tell you, and you can't take nobody else's feelings into account for a situation that you got to live and you got to deal with, because you know what you guys had. You know the level of what
right,
it was. You know he held you down. You know he done
right,
everything right. And was it by means that was against the law? Seems that way, but that still don't take a fact that he was risking that time and he was making sure you were provided for. So,
absolutely,
so much in the game of that life is treachery and deceit and stabbing in the back and throwing people to the wolves. It doesn't sound like he tried to throw you guys under the bus. I don't know what kind of deal was worked out. Obviously, that's between him and his lawyer. But it doesn't sound like he tried to sell you guys up the river. And you're right. When somebody does those kind of things for you, regardless of what happens, that's just something you can't just throw away and forget. So I can see that. I can see that. And I can see, I can look at you when you talk about him, you get emotional. So I can tell that you still have feelings for him.
yeah. So that's why it's so hard because I really feel like I have nothing to show for this.
This long. So you feel like you've lived your whole point, and I'm not going to break the rule of asking anybody how old they are, but you feel like you've worked everything to this point to now have to go give the next 42 months of your life, come out and you're starting from scratch.
Exactly. Like I said, I have a freaking master's degree. Like I have my real estate license. I had a good life,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna come home and have to start from ground zero.
You want to know what you're going to have though when you come out? You're going to have a story. You're going to have the ability to tell somebody, look, I had all this. I had a
Yeah.
master's. I was doing real estate. I was in LA. I had everything that a woman at my age and my, certain time in their life would want. The sky was the limit, depending on how far I wanted to go with it.
Right.
And look what making the wrong choice got me.
Absolutely.
You mentioned when we were talking, you mentioned that you liked Ian Bick, and I've been a guest on his show. Shout out to Ian Bick. He's got a very similar story. I don't know if you know his story in particular.
Hmm.
Do you know about his story?
Somewhat. He opened the club, right?
Right. He opened up a club.
Hmm.
I don't know it
Hmm.
100% to be honest, but the cliff
Hmm.
notes was he opened up a club. He was taking money from investors to bring high profile acts in. I don't know whether acts got canceled or whatever, but he didn't have the money to pay the investors back. So it was like a big financial thing, is what he went to jail for. So, was running one of the better clubs in Connecticut. Next thing you know, he's in jail, for I don't know his specific charges, but then he had to go in there and do his time. And he comes out and he has the idea to start this podcast. And,
Hmm.
he uses that now to help spread awareness. And I think you even told me that you've reached out to people and told them what you're going into, and people have kind of shared, I guess, words of wisdom, or maybe just, what to look forward to, what to expect, how to carry yourself, how to make it through. That's accurate?
It's a
You're good.
very small community of women that have gone through this.
Right.
Um, so when I find women that have gone through this before, are like it's so intriguing to me, and it's so comforting to speak with someone as a because only like I did the research, only like 8% of women are incarcerated.
Right.
So it's so rare. So I was looking on Instagram. I seen like I was putting like hashtag like federal prisons, like women in prison. I started finding like, different women. I was DMing them and they were responding and they were just basically giving me like some advice.
Yeah.
So it has been helpful. And like you said, I like how you said, I'm going to have a story to tell and I want to be able to help others as well because I'm pretty sure it's going to be another young girl down the line that, sees something promising that's they know is not right. They know it's illegal, and they might, get drawn in by the money. That it's easy money, or the flashiness of it all, or and
Hmm.
sometimes it's just not worth it. It's
No,
just not worth it. I
absolutely.
know we live in an instant gratification society. Everybody wants things fast. You want what you see these celebrities have, rappers have, and it's just like, man, it's okay. You can do things the right way, and you can it might
Yeah.
take you a little bit longer, but nobody can take it away from you. You don't got to worry about your shit getting seized. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. And then it's yours.
It's
But
yours.
it's the allure of that, like you said, that quick dollar. It's there for a lot of people, and a lot of people take it. They say money is the root of all evil, and it's 100% true. That's probably never been a truer statement. But there's also, and I forgive me if I don't remember the exact verse of the Bible, but it also says, for what does a man gain with the world, but he loses his soul. So you got to think of that too.
Hmm.
I think when you get out, you're gonna have a big future. If you
Okay.
do this book, and
Hmm.
then you can parlay that into some sort of speaking engagement, maybe even a podcast yourself, have other women on that's had similar
Yeah.
stories, share their story. There's an avenue. There's always a way to spin something positive out of something negative. Um,
Right.
you just have to overlook. You have to search your way through. It's not always easy. It's so dark, and it can seem so cloudy. You got to search your way through and find that
You have
light.
to. It's like you're finding the light at the end of the tunnel. Like literally, like I'm almost there because the past
Right.
2 years, it's been hell. It's been hell without my partner, and like knowing that, like I used to sleep with this. I went from seeing this person once a week for 5 years to sleeping alone, never, I can't even call. Like I'm going through so freaking much. And the one person that you go through, you count on your partner to get you through things.
Yeah, you ride or die.
And granted, we were talking, but him not being physically there was something that I didn't know how I was going to get through.
Right.
So I'm finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I just know like once I get in and I get adjusted, it's going to be okay. You know?
Yeah. Do y'all have like internet access in the camps? I don't know what y'all have.
Yes. Um, So from what I learned, you can get the email like iPads and stuff. Well, not like iPads, like little tablets. I'll
Mhm.
have an email address, things like that.
So you'll be able to will you be able to use the internet, watch YouTube and all that?
On the tablets, I think so. You can download music. Yeah,
So you'll be able to watch. Will you be able to watch this?
I'm gonna have someone send it to me. I can't
All
miss
right.
this.
No, well, you got to let me know where you want me to send it. I can email it, or you can give me a phone number or whatever.
I'm
Um,
gonna take your number down. Actually, I'm gonna add you like to my people to call and just.
okay, yeah, do that. Do that if you need to call and just holler at somebody, give me a call. And
Okay.
and I tell you what I want to do. I want to be able to be one of the first ones to interview you when you come out and be able to kind of see what you've learned in that time, where your head's at, what you want to do. And if there's anything I can do at that point in time to help you, advice, point you in the right direction, maybe get you on a bigger platform to share the story, I'll be more than happy to do that. I've been fortunate enough to make some connections with some guys with some big platforms. So I'll be more than happy to put you directly on one as soon as you get out
Okay.
to tell this story. The only advice I'll give you is have what you want to do in place while you're in there.
Mhm.
Have it
Mhm.
ready, then get out, then tell the story. That way the viewers have somewhere to go. Because if they don't have anywhere to go, you lose that opportunity for you to gain a following to whatever it is you want to do, whether it be book, podcast, or whatever.
Awesome. Thank
Jamila, I want
you.
to wish you the best of luck. I know this is a hard situation. It's going to be an emotional time, I'm sure, for you and your family driving up there tomorrow. God bless you guys. Safe travels. And I can tell that you're a strong woman and you're going to do fine. It's the part of just being away from everybody that you love. I know is going to be hard, But as far as doing the time, I got to believe I think you'll be okay with that. It's just going to be missing the people
Thank
that you love.
you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate this.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me a chance to tell my story, just to speak about it. It's been very therapeutic and much needed.
Yes.
Like how we talked at times, like I don't know, it just feels better to share it now that it's over. Because sometimes you don't think you can get through things, but once you get through them, you're like, damn, I made it through that.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Oh, I know.
thank
I know.
you.
I know all about it. And when you said, like, when they said he does a podcast, you kind of looked at me. He's like, well, I got a story. And I'll be honest with you. A lot of people say that, but the
Yeah.
story isn't really podcast worthy. You know what I'm saying? But when you started
Hmm.
talking about yours, I'm just like, yeah, I don't even want to hear much more. Like, we'll just save it
You
for
said
Monday.
save it
We'll
for the
save it for
podcast.
Monday.
You said it. You said save it for the podcast.
I, that's why I said, I don't want to know it all. You got to save some of it. We'll dive into it. So I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. I know this is actually taking away time from your family that you want to spend. So I'm going to let you get back to it. You guys
Okay.
enjoy your night. Have a safe trip tomorrow.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk after we come off air, and I'll figure out ways that I can make sure people get in contact with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Hollywood Wade. That was Jamilla, and unfortunately, we are out of time. Everybody, please wish her luck and on her journey, and we look forward to seeing what she's going to do when she comes out.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to stop recording there.